Hey, you thinking about buying a Weber Genesis II grill and wondering about the assembly? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you from start to finish the assembly of my new Weber Genesis II E435 grill from start all the way from unboxing through till finish. These assembly processes apply to all of the Genesis II 300 and 400 series grills. So if you're in the market for any one of those Genesis II grills, these assembly instructions will also apply to your grill. So without further ado, let's get rolling. So these are the tools that you're going to need for the assembly. This wrench comes with the grill, but I recommend you use a ratchet and a 7/16 socket if you have one, because it will save you time. Also, you can use a basic screwdriver. To save time, you could also use a hand drill with a PH3 bit, and just make sure you turn your torque down, between 8, 10 or so, because you don't want to strip out any of the threaded holes. And that's about all you're going to need for tools. We begin with the unboxing. So you open up the box, and in the upper right corner of your screen you'll see pages from the actual assembly guide that comes with the Weber grill. So you're going to see these pages up in some part of the screen during the entire assembly process, just so you can follow along with the assembly guide and see exactly what the instructions are telling you to do. So here I cut the corners of the box to lay the sides flat on the floor, and basically to expose the contents of the grill inside the box easily. And next I'm going to unpack everything and lay it out so I have easy access to all the components. And finally, we're done unboxing. So now the first step of the assembly is the wheels. Grab the wheels out of one of the boxes that they're inside of. Dump out the bag full of the different fasteners, and also includes the wrench that comes with the grill box. And right now I'm looking for bag A, because that's what's going to have the cotter pins that are needed for the axle, and also has the fasteners that you're going to use for the stand assembly, which is the next part of this. Throw a cotter pin in there, and then put the first wheel on the axle. Next, grab the two sides of the stand and just feed the axle through the holes on there. And this is the only side that you could feed the axle through. The other side doesn't have holes that would accept it, so it's kind of foolproof here at this point. At this point, you can grab the other wheel and throw that on there and then insert the other cotter pin. So now that's secured. These caps here, they just snap right in, so you can go ahead and pop those on. Alright, now it's time for the casters, and those can't get any easier, they just pop right in. This is the screw that we're going to be using to fasten all these other panels into the stand. Just a little tip here, go corner to corner, just finger tight. That way it'll secure it enough for you to go grab the other two screws, and then you want to insert those, and don't fully tighten them yet until you have all 4 screws in at the same time, and then you can start tightening all 4 of them. Now this is the fastener that's going to be used for this other panel, which is basically the bottom shelf of the grill stand. It's nice because you don't have to worry about screwing these in. They just pop right into the holes, and then they expand and they stay in place. Definitely need some help on this step, which I had to enlist my little helper to give me a hand, because there's no way that I could have held up that panel and then got that first hole started by myself. You can see how they go in, and then you just press the button in and they expand and they stay in place. Now you can flip it over, because you can be working on the top from this point forward. Just make sure you get the right side. These are just little bump stop little plugs that go into the holes. And this is the back panel that goes onto the stand. And this just gets secured in there with those same expandable plastic fasteners. This is a quick and easy step. You'll have 4 of those for 4 holes. Just pop them all in. Alright, next is the side panel, and on this one it's the one with all the holes in it, and we're going to mount the fuel gauge, which is essentially a scale that weighs the liquid propane tank, and once it starts to get low, it'll indicate that it's low based on the weight. So it's a good feature. I really like this feature of the grill. Hate trying to guess if the propane is low or not. Those are fasteners that are going to go at the bottom. Those 2 plastic pieces are basically little bumpers for the bottom of the tank, because the tank's going to be hanging off of that scale. So that just keeps the side of the tank off of the panel. Those just get tightened with a screwdriver on one end and the wrench on the other. So then it's time to mount that. That gets mounted to the side of the stand with 6 screws. Again, just screw the screws in by hand first, finger tight. And if you have some trouble, you can use a screwdriver, but don't fully tighten them down until you have all 6 screws in the holes at a time. Then you can start to sock them down. Man, I wish I could turn a screwdriver that fast in real life. That'd be unstoppable. Alright, flip it around, and then you're going to install the other side panel to the stand. And this one just takes 4 screws, and that's it. If you have trouble lining up some of the holes like I do on here, just you might have to kind of flex the leg in a little bit to get the holes to align. Hey look, my screwdriver broke. Thank you, Harbor Freight. That's okay. I'll just go get the big guns. I'm done with screwdrivers. I'll use a hand drill instead. Just make sure you turn down the torque on it so you don't go stripping out any of your threads. But if you have a hand drill, I would use that instead. It saves a lot of time. Okay, now we're moving on to the cook box. First, you gotta take the lid off, and you can see it's unbalanced at this point. So I put the stand behind it, and then I can go ahead and remove the cotter pins from the lid hinge pins, and then you can get those pins out of there. A pair of pliers is going to help out with this step. They're not required, but they will help a lot. Then you just pick off the lid. It's not too heavy, but probably best to have 2 people do this. I'm stubborn when it comes to that kind of stuff. Then we take the cook box and place it on top of the stand. Make sure that the gas lines go to the outside of the stand. And then these ignition wires, those get routed through the inside of the stand. That's important. That's what it looks like. These are the tools that you're going to need. So now it's securing the cook box to the stand with those 2 hex screws. Get them finger tight. And then use the wrench to sock them down. Around back, you're going to need these 2 screws. These are shoulder screws, and those are only threaded partially, so they're not going to screw in all the way. So take a look, see this is what they're going to look like after you screw them in. Make sure you don't try to force them all the way in. Remove the bubble wrap from the gas lines. Now this is flexible gas lines, so make sure you don't kink this hose at all, because if you do, it could break and end up leaking. So just be careful with it. That gets secured on with a screw that gets screwed in through the back. And now it's time for the side burner. It's already starting to come together, looking good. You're gonna get underneath for this, so I hope you're flexible. So you grab these brackets right here, and those just go over those 2 threaded studs, and the nuts get tightened down around them. And then you're just gonna do that for both sides. The left side just gets a regular shelf, and that gets secured the exact same way as the side burner did. Now it's time to connect this small gas line to the side burner. It's a quick disconnect fitting, so you can just go ahead and carefully bring it over there and then pull back on that knurled sleeve on the fitting and just pop it in. Make sure it's secure and you're good to go. Now you can open up the side burner, take the grate out of the packing bubbles, and do the same thing for the burner. That just easily goes into place, and then the stainless steel grate just sets in place like that. Push the knob in place. Alright, side burner's all set. Then you're going to take this ignition wire, and this is like a grounding wire. And this is only on the 400 series grills, but basically you have to feed it through that hole. And then bring it on over to the manifold, and you'll see a screw just hanging out over there, out in the open. And that screw is for this ground wire. So you just got to go ahead and secure the wire to it. Then you can feed all the wires through that square hole in the second shelf. So this is basically the module for all the ignition wires. The side burner one you're gonna have to plug in. Then the rest of them, just check and make sure that they're nice and tight and that they didn't loosen up during shipment. Those screws, just go ahead and go into these holes and then slide right down. But don't tighten them yet, because you gotta put this cover on. And the cover just slides in between the ignition coils and the frame. Oh, what I'm doing there is I forgot to tuck in the extra wire from the side burner. Just want to go ahead and tuck that into that wire guarding. I don't know what the hell you call that, but you want to tuck it in anyway. Now you can tighten the screws. And this is where the battery goes. On this end, you just stick that little clip onto the inside of the leg, and then you can pop the wires on there. This is some trim that gets installed onto the back with 2 screws. Go ahead, tighten those down. And then there's going to be a stainless steel one that gets mounted to the front of the grill. Make sure you remove all the plastic protecting wrap that's on the stainless steel before you install it. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to remove it completely after it's already been installed. Okay, next is this front cover. You have to make sure that you plug in these 2 wires into the button that activates the spark for the igniters. Otherwise your igniter won't actually work. I had to pull the wire a little bit to the left because it was preventing me from getting that fully into the holes, but then once you do that, you can just secure it with 2 screws at the bottom. Next is back to the stand. Remove this tape, and you're going to install the doors next. It's actually pretty easy to do these doors. These are just this is the hardware for the door, so the handle can get screwed in. So this plastic insert basically takes the screw, so you have to drop the screw into it so it sticks out the other end, and then the screw screws into the handles. So you're gonna do that to both doors. One little tip I figured out is that if you put the screw into that plastic piece first, and then you insert the plastic piece into the door, it's way easier, because it can be really tricky to get the threaded portion of the screw to stick through that hole. It wants to the screw wants to just tip over. There's some plastic pieces I just stuck into the bottom holes, and those are just plastic pins, and then the top pins of the door are retractable on a spring, so you just push those down as you're inserting the door into the stand, and then it just pops into place. It actually went in nice and straight too. I was pretty impressed. Next is just these two side guards that kind of hide the tank from view. Those just pop into place. Yeah, and the sticker was upside down. This is the warming rack, so that's how it goes on. You can see how it folds down. Not a lid, can get back on there. Can be a little tricky to align the lid, just make sure it's sitting nice and flush. This is where two people would come in handy. Those pins that we took out earlier, those go back in now on both ends. And then the cotter pins can go back in as well. Now you can insert all your knobs. This is the drip tray, so that's going to collect the drippings, and this is the grease management tray, well, or whatever it's called, but basically it diverts all the drippings into that drip tray. Then you insert the heat deflectors, and then the flavorizer bars. So I was reading the book, and the reason why they call flavorizer bars is because the drippings fall onto those bars and then sizzle and create some smoke, and then that smoke gets into your food and makes it flavorful. So that's why they call that. I was confused at first. And the grates, and then close the lid and remove the rest of the protectant material from the lid. And that's about it, folks. I'd appreciate it if you give me a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. Okay, this is how the tank gets installed onto the gauge. So you gotta tighten down that lock, then I'll screw the regulator into the tank, hand tight only until it stops, and then slowly open up the valve on the tank. And this is how you light it. Just turn the knob on high and press the igniter button. And also I'll have a link in the description for this actual grill if you want to check it out for yourself.